My name is Amanda, and I'm with the Tampa-Hillsborough County Public Library, and it is my honor to introduce Lorian Mariachi and Katie Adams, who are part of the Tampa-Hillsborough County Storytelling Festival. They are going to be sharing some tips, tricks, storytelling, how to select a story, some great storytelling techniques with us today. This program is a part of the 40th annual Tampa-Hillsborough County Storytelling Festival. So this year we are celebrating that festival online between June 3rd and August 5th. There is still plenty of time to get involved and to be part of the Storytelling Festival, and you are going to learn more about that today. So one of the most important things, and I will be sharing this in the chat section, is to find the Storytelling Festival landing page on the library website, which is hcplc.org/storytellingfestival. There you can find all sorts of great resources. We have a video playlist. We have a frequently asked questions document, manual, how to get involved. We have great stories, a book list of stories we want to recommend, and many more elements there that can help you get involved in the Storytelling Festival. It is open to students 6 through 8, that's grades K through 12, to participate. In this year's virtual or online Storytelling Festival, what we're inviting people to do is to take part in our live virtual events and then to record their own story and submit it to us to be part of the Storytelling Festival. Again, I do reiterate the Storytelling Festival website, hcplc.org/storytelling. You can find the information about submitting a video, or you can just get your questions answered if you have any additional questions after this program. I do want to point out this program is interactive through the questions section. We will be sharing the link to a Zoom session where you can come on camera and practice and do some of these techniques. That will be following directly after this program. It will be shared in the chat section at the end of the program. So please be on the lookout for that. However, just to keep in mind, you will not be on camera for this session. And before we get right into the storytelling information, we do want to share a book shout out of a great resource. So on our website, we have a book list of great stories you can choose to be stories to be told in the festival, but this one is a resource that can help you work on your techniques. It's called The World's Greatest Vocal Warm-Ups. I believe we are going to be working on some of those today, Katie and Lorian, but this is available through our digital streaming service, Hoopla, which it is a streaming audiobook, which means you listen to it, which is a great resource for practicing those vocal techniques. You can find Hoopla on our book services, hcplc.org/books. And I do want to shout back out to the Storytelling Festival landing page one more time, because we do have a YouTube video playlist called Story School, where you can find another great video by our Storytelling Festival committee about doing vocal warm-ups. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the program. I am going to go ahead and turn off my camera, and Lori and I will both turn our cameras off. And then, Katie, you'll get us started.
Great, thank you. I am Katie Adams, and I'm going to start with a story for you. This is The Lion and the Mouse, an Aesop's fable. Little Mouse was a fast runner. Her mother always picked her to run an errand because she could run and get back in a flash. Now, one day, she was running an errand for her mother through the forest. She ran down the forest path, and after a while, she looked back to see how far she had gone, and she ran up onto a little hill. Oh, she had never been on this hill before. She looked, it was covered with golden brown grass. She thought maybe this grass might taste good. So she just leaned over and she nibbled at the grass just a little bit. When all of a sudden the ground under her started to heave and rock. She said, "Eee!" And she started to run down off of that little hill into the forest. When all of a sudden behind her, she heard the roar of a lion. You could help me out with this. Everybody give me a big roar. Roar. Little Mouse looked back and there was a big lion. He was covered with golden brown fur. It wasn't grass, it was fur. She realized she had been running around on a lion. He must have been asleep, but he was not asleep anymore. He was wide awake and his eyes were looking right at her. Little Mouse turned to run away, but the lion reached out a big paw and he pressed her to the ground. Then he picked her up by her tail and he held her right in front of his big mouth. Little Mouse could see his great big teeth. She could see his red tongue. She could feel his hot breath blowing past her. She said, oh, please, Mr. Lion, please don't eat me. If you save my life, I promise one day I will save your life. The lion said, how could something so small save me? Little Mouse, you have made me laugh. And because you are so funny, I will let you go. He let go of her and she took off like a shot. She ran all the way back to her house. She did not stop until she was inside her front door. After that, Little Mouse stayed away from Lion until one day she was running through the forest on an errand when she heard Lion roar. But it didn't sound like his normal roar. It sounded like this. Roar! Little Mouse thought, Lion is in trouble. So she turned and she started running towards Lion. Then she came into a big clearing of the forest. And as she looked, she saw ropes coming down over the lion, a hunter's trap. The lion was caught in the ropes, and the more he struggled, the tighter the ropes got until finally he couldn't move at all. Roar! Little Mouse listened, and she could hear footsteps running through the forest, getting closer and closer. She realized the hunter was coming to check the trap. She said, Lion, I promised one day I would save your life, and today is the day. So she ran up onto the ropes and she started to chew at them with her sharp teeth. She listened. She could hear the footsteps getting even closer. So she gnawed even faster. When pow, the ropes broke open and the lion broke free. He and Little Mouse started to run from the hunter. And as they ran, Lion said, Little Mouse, you are a true friend. And that's the story of the lion and the mouse. The moral is you're never too big to need help, and you're never too small to be helpful. And that's a story for you. Now we're going to bring in Lorian, and she's going to talk some more about storytelling.
Hello. So thank you, Katie, so much. That was an excellent example of storytelling. And so thank you. I hope everybody is applauding at home for you. And I just want to talk with everybody for a minute or two about what storytelling is. So I hope that the first thing that you noticed with Katie is that she was not holding a book. So the first thing about storytelling is that we read books to get our stories, and our stories come from books, but we don't stand and read out of the book when we're telling our story. So Katie did not have a book in front of her. She was not reading Once Upon a Time There Was a Mouse Who Was Very Fast. She knew her story, and she was just able to share her story. So the first thing you need to know about storytelling is that while all of our stories come from books, we do not read books. Storytelling is an oral tradition, and it is a performance art. So Katie was using all sorts of other tools, but not a book. So the next thing you need to know about storytelling that I hope you noticed was the tools that Katie was using. So Katie was using her voice, right? So Mouse had a little bit of a higher pitched voice, and Lion had a little bit of a deeper voice, and Mouse talked a little quicker and Lion talked a little slower. And there were sound effects like the roar of the lion. And I had fun doing that with Katie. I hope you guys did it with her too. And then, with the squeaking sound she made while Mouse was chewing through the rope. So we use our voice as a part of storytelling, which is why the book shout out that Amanda made, and there's actually a video in Story School that she told you guys about too, both talk about how to warm your voice up so that you can do things like Katie did without scratching your voice or going hoarse or hurting your throat. So Katie used her voice, but then she also used her body. And I don't know if you guys know this about Katie, but she has extensive training and has worked actually performing as a mime. She is of many things and many talents. She is a professional mime. And so I always enjoy watching the way that Katie uses her body to tell her story. And so when she was gnawing on the rope, she didn't just stand there and say, and mouse gnawed on the rope. She showed you with her teeth, with her body, and when she was talking about lion's hot breath blowing on mouse, she was using her body and her hands to kind of give you the impression that there was wind. You probably felt like Katie was a mouse and could feel the wind blowing on her. So with storytelling, this is what we do, is we read a good story, and Katie's going to tell you a lot more about what makes a good story in just a few minutes, and then we learn the story. Katie's also going to tell you about how to learn the story. We practice the story, and I'll come back and tell you more about that, and then we perform the story for an audience. In this case, this year, it will be an online audience, and we use our words, our voice, and our bodies to make the story come to life far beyond the pages of the book. So that is what storytelling is. Now, Storytelling Festival. So we're the Storytelling Festival Committee. We build a storytelling festival every year, and this will be our 40th, our official 40th. And so what we do is we work with students and we help you to learn how to do storytelling. And I've had the privilege and pleasure, and so has Katie, of working with several students. And I hope some of you guys are here today. I say hello if you're one of my students. And I miss you guys, and I can't wait till the future when we can work together again in person. But what we do is we practice those things that I was talking about with what storytelling is: picking a story, learning a story, learning how to use your voice and your body to bring the story to life. And then with students who can do that very well, what we call festival quality, then we feature them in the storytelling festival and we give them an audience. This year, to be featured in the Storytelling Festival, you will have to submit a video, and then we will be featuring the festival quality storytelling videos on the same YouTube channel where you're seeing the recordings of this and where you can find the story school. So in order to participate, we're looking for very specific things, because we think that you are all adorable and we think that you are all awesome and we love watching you perform. So if we just had to pick if we liked you or not, we would pick everybody. But because it's a storytelling festival, what we're looking for specifically is very good storytelling. So I want to talk with you for just a smidge here real quick about what makes good storytelling. And it's basically everything that storytelling is, everything that you just saw Katie do. So we need to see that you know your story. Okay, this is the first most important thing, because if you stand there, I don't have a book right here, I've got a bookshelf. If you stand there and you just read from the book, that's not storytelling. So even though we still think you're adorable and we still love hearing your story, that's not festival quality. So you have to learn the story. And again, Katie's just about to give you some tips and tricks for how to do that. And then we want to see that you're comfortable, that when you're telling the story, you're comfortable. Because if you're shaking or you're scared and crying, then we don't want to do that to you. We don't want to make you do something that's terrible for you. So we want to see that you're very comfortable. We need to be able to hear you, because even if your story is if we can't hear you, then we don't know what the story is, and so that's not storytelling. And then the last thing that we look for is we look for your personality and the way that you perform the story. And that means that things that really help your storytelling performance are things like you saw Katie doing, that we talked about, using different voices for different characters, using motions to bring the story to life, having sound effects. So, you don't just say, oh, they knocked on the door, you've got, so that we can tell that they knocked on the door. I'm sure your writing teachers in school have said show, don't tell. So in storytelling, you're telling and then you're also showing. So those are the things that we're looking for. We're looking for good storytellers. And every single child who submits a video for the Storytelling Festival is will get a certificate saying that you participated in the Storytelling Festival this year. And then we will select the students who meet the storytelling criteria, and those students will have their videos featured as a part of the Storytelling Festival. So we're not a competition. So if 500 students send videos and all 500 of them know their story and are very comfortable and we can hear them and they're using voices and they're using movements, then all 500 will get to be storytellers. But it does have to be doing those things that we talked about in order to be festival quality. And if you have any questions about this, there's lots of places that you can go. So you can type it in like Amanda was talking about using the question mark or the questions button. And Katie and Amanda are going to answer those. We also have an FAQ page on that landing page that Amanda was telling you about earlier. And you also can send emails to the Tampa-Hillsborough County Storytelling Festival at tampastoryfest@gmail.com. So hopefully we'll get all your questions answered and everybody who wants to participate can participate. And I can't wait to hear your story. So I'm going to bring Katie back so she can tell you more about how to pick and learn a story.
Okay, thank you, Lorian. That was awesome. One of the most important things that you're going to do as a storyteller at the beginning of the process is pick your story. You're going to go to a book. So you want to be sure that you pick a really great book, a great story, because you are going to be telling this story for a long time. And possibly, you may even tell this story for the rest of your life. So you want to make sure you really pick a great story. I'm going to tell you some things you don't want to look for first that are not going to make a good story. One of the first things is you don't want to pick a chapter book. Lots of people are moving into reading chapter books, but don't pick one like, for instance, Junie B. Jones has short chapters. You might think that's okay, but don't pick a chapter book. Also, parents, you want to make sure that you're picking a book that has enough written words, enough story written down. Some easy reading books are mostly told through pictures, and that really might not work. So make sure it's got enough words in the story. You don't want to pick a poem story, because that's a very challenging type of story to learn. If you're more advanced and you've done storytelling for several years, then you might want to pick that. But otherwise, don't do a story poem at first. And the last thing is you want to pick a fiction story. Don't pick a nonfiction story, okay? So you're going to go to the 398.2 section where they have folk tales, fairy tales, myths, legends, fables, like I just told that Aesop's fable. So you want to pick a story like that, and you want it to be a story that has a beginning, middle, and end. It has what we call a story arc, maybe a conflict or problem that gets solved within the story. Maybe a story that's a bit predictable. It has a part that repeats through the story. That can be good too. The story needs to be told in less than 10 minutes. Stories that go over 10 minutes in their video, in the performance part, we can't use that for the festival. It's got to be less than 10 minutes. So it's not a very long story. It can be, 1 minute up to 10 minutes, just under 10 minutes. So it could be short, but it can't be more than 10 minutes. Where can you find these books? Well, like I said, you can find them in the 398.2 section of your library. And if you go to your public library, I'm sure the librarians there will help you. But we also have a great curated list of books on that landing page for the Hillsborough County Public Libraries, the Storytelling Festival. So you want to go to that, and there's just a whole bunch of great book choices right there. So once you have picked out this story, and you want to be sure that it's a story that just really jumps off the page to you, that your storyteller loves. Parents, you want to make sure that your child really likes that story. But as you're picking it, you also want to make sure that it's the right reading level. So kids, you may have heard that 5-finger rule, where as you start reading a book, you count how many words you maybe don't know. So like on the first page, if there's a word you don't know, you count 1. Second word you don't know is 2. And if you get up to 5 words you don't know in the first page or 2, that's not a good book. You want to pick another book that's a little bit easier level. Parents, this is not the time to pick the most advanced reading level for your child and challenge them that way. This is the time to pick a story they can easily read, and because they're going to be using it and mastering this story pretty quickly. So you want one that's easy for them to read a bit. Try using that 5-finger rule and really listen. How well is my child able to read and understand this story? Now, as you have picked your story and you're getting ready to learn your story, the first thing you're going to want to do is just read that story many times. So parents, if you have a child that's just learning to read, you can also read the story to them, but have them read it to you, many times, maybe 10 times, till it's really flowing smoothly. You can ask your child questions about the story and make sure that they understand the whole concept of the story. And then as you're starting to get into learning it a little bit more, you want to do what we call storyboarding. So I'm going to bring out my big storyboard here to show you this. Let's see, is that in the picture? There we go, right there. And what I have here is something that you can do on a piece of paper like this. So just take a regular sheet of paper and fold it in half, fold it in half, fold it in half until you get squares or rectangles about this size. And you can open it up and make what looks like a cartoon set like this, a storyboard. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because these are not fancy drawings. These are like stick figure cartoon pictures. So this is for the lion and the mouse. And you can see here, I've got the mouse running along saying, running on an errand. There's the hill right there with the brown grass, the golden grass. There's the mouse eating. Then she's running and saying, ee, and I wrote a little bit of the word E. Then I have the lion roaring here. These, again, are not fancy drawings, but they're drawings that meant something to me, that helped me to remember and understand the images and pictures in the story. Here's the lion pressing down the mouse to the ground, picking the mouse up by its tail. You can see the inside of the lion's mouth. And then I had an important phrase. So I wrote that out. Please don't eat me. One day I will save your life. Because that was an important phrase. I wanted to make sure I got all of it correctly. So I wrote that on my storyboard. This one goes even a little farther. There's a second page, so you could turn your notebook page over. You could have a second page even. So the story goes along. Here's the trap, the rope net trap. Then the mouse chewing the ropes here, and then pow, the ropes broke open, and then the lion and the mouse are running away, and the end. These, again, are very simple, but once you have that, I'm just going to pick this up. Once you have your storyboard, then you hold it like this, and you tell using each picture from your storyboard. So that way you're getting away from the actual words in the story and starting to use your own words and your own memory and your own pictures to tell the story. So you can hold this and tell your story, start to add in your actions and things. And even as you get more farther along, you can kind of put your storyboard to the side and tell your story. And then if you need, check back and check your storyboard and then keep telling like this. So we find this to be one of the best memory devices, because storytelling is really the conveyance of pictures from the storyteller to the audience. So we're working with pictures here. All right, and now I'm going to turn this back over to Lorian.
Thank you so much, Katie, again, for being awesome. So Katie taught you how to pick your book. She taught you how to learn your story. And now I'm going to talk to you about practicing your story. And again, if any of you are my students from before, you can do this right with me because you know what I'm about to say. The most important part of storytelling is that you practice, 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 practice. It is so important. So I'm just going to give you a couple of quick things that you can do to practice. So first of all, practice any chance you can get and every chance you can get. Practice in your mind while you're brushing your teeth. You can practice out loud while you're taking your shower or your bath. When you're in the car, practice. And these are all good ways to practice reciting the story or giving it the words that you're going to want to give it, because remember, the first most important thing is that you know the story, right? Well, first most important thing is that you pick it, like Katie said, then you have to know it. So with the so practicing all the time can really help you to know it, but that doesn't necessarily help you to have the voices or the movements that we talk about. So it's good to practice those, and especially since this year will be on video, it can be good to practice those over video. So you can have parents record you on their phones and then you can play it back and hear it. Or you can do maybe video or Zoom calls with friends or family, relatives from anywhere in the world, and you can practice that way. But the most important thing is that you are practicing all the time. And I don't want to take up too much of your time because we're running to the end. But I will say that we give a lot of tips in Story School under the practice video. We have a whole section of that video that is tips for parents and other adults who are the audience members enjoying storytelling, and ways that you can really be effective in helping your storytellers to both recognize their accomplishment in being storytellers, because it's a really awesome, really just amazingly wonderful thing, but also so that you can help them to improve. So I really hope you go and you check that out. It's called Practicing Your Story. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Katie back, and then Amanda, I guess, will be coming back as well, so that if we have left you guys with any questions, you can ask your questions. But before I go, last thing, I just want to say that I'm going to go ahead and head over to the Zoom, so that after you're done here, if you want to join me in the Zoom, Katie will also be there, and we will be giving live one-on-one coaching sessions. So your child will actually have the opportunity to practice their story in front of us in an audience if they have already learned it and they're ready for that. So I hope I see some of you guys over there soon. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, and as Lorian said, I shared the link to join that Zoom coaching session in the chat section. So once again, if you are on a computer or a laptop, it's going to be in your control panel. It's going to be the bottom session, which is chat. If you are on a phone or a tablet, you can click the attendees section and you can find the chat section there. So there is that link. I would invite you to stay with us, take advantage of this Q&A, and then go directly over if you're ready. Katie, I believe if you are not ready today for any like in-person, or not in-person, I'm sorry, face-to-face virtual coaching, there will be a future coaching session scheduled, correct?
That's correct. It will be in July. We have, and it is, I believe it's listed on that landing page.
So if you're still in the early stages there, you have not picked your book yet, you're not ready maybe to get coaching on your story, there will be another session. However, if you want to go over, if you do have any additional questions, that's another good resource to access. So,
and even if you wanted to just ask about, is this a good book? You know, we can talk to you about the book, the story that you're picking
exactly.
too.
Or anything that you went over today, you can follow up on that info. Well, let's get into some of these questions, and then hopefully we'll get some people over into that Zoom session as well. So the first question is there a recording available for later review? And the answer is yes, yes, yes. So this is going to be, we're recording this program, and we will put it on our library YouTube channel as part of our Storytelling Festival playlist. So you can find all those resources together. So if you do want to go back and review, you will be able to find it there shortly after the broadcast is done. It takes us a little time to get it edited and up onto YouTube. But I do want to reiterate, and I am going to bring up, actually, I'm just going to bring up our screen here, just to remind you that Katie and Lorian shared so much good information with you today, and you can find all of that information on the Storytelling Festival website. So hcplc.org/storytellingfestival. You can find those story school videos that they talked about. You can find the book list that Katie referenced. You can find the manual. And when you were talking about festival quality, you can find the criteria checklist for that. So there is, what I love is there is plenty of opportunities to be interactive throughout this virtual storytelling festival, but you do have a home base where you can find all that information at any time of day or night. Okay, yeah. We do have a few more questions, so I do want to get to those, Katie. One is a comment. Somebody has already memorized a story before. They already learned a story, so that is a great to hear. So that would so if you know the skill, that would be great to participate in the festival this year, and use those storytelling skills. One question is, you mentioned the 10-minute time limit, and so the question is, can they, I'm paraphrasing, can they edit down a book and make it shorter? Or can they edit down a story to make it fit the 10 minutes? Or does it have to be the whole story as it's written?
Yes, so that's a great question. And you can do the editing. One thing to think about is that you can tell the story in your own words so that you don't have to literally memorize every word in the story. You can tell it in your own words. And so that's why we have the storyboarding technique, because that moves you from those literal words from the book to telling it in your own words based on the pictures that you have in your mind. So definitely use that technique to take the story, and then you're kind of editing it, you're telling it in your own words, and that would shorten it for you. You may, as you get towards the final version of your story, then be timing it so that you might be that you need to take 30 seconds off, or a little bit, take a little bit of time off of it, and you might say, oh, I can shorten this here, shorten that there. And that's something that we could work with you at the July session to make some choices like that. And so yes, you want to do that, do a little bit of editing, but realize that some fairy tales and folk tales are very long to begin with, and that might be more challenging. So you may want to pick a shorter.
In terms of, that's why right now the story selection is so important, and those tips Katie gave you are going to be really helpful in to making it a successful storytelling experience. And also, Katie, what I'm enjoying in some of the people in the audience is how much this experience, how many different skills everybody's working on. So we have the art skills with the storyboarding, the editing skills, and the selecting skills, the public speaking. So that's a really cool element too, that there's so many different areas of your brain and into different skills that you are tapping into. So I want to make sure we get a few more. Oh, some of these are just comments. They say we thoroughly enjoyed the story and all the amazing tips, and we also have some thank yous. So this is a question, kind of a follow-up of today, is how to choose a story, which you did talk about today, but when to choose a story. And I would think sooner rather than later would be the time to choose a story.
Yes, because we have about 6 weeks. We did our kickoff last week, and you want to have your video turned in by July 17th. So you have about 6 weeks. So you want to get started. You want to go out there and look at the books that Amanda curated that are on the Hillsborough County Public Library website, the landing page for the festival. There's some great books in there, or go to your library, to the folktales section of the library, and go ahead and get started on that.
Yes. So, and the nice thing is that book list that you can find on the Storytelling Festival website, that links directly to our catalog. So if you find one you like, you can click that link and it will tell you how and where you can check it out, or if you need to place a hold on it. So that's the other thing you might want to get started sooner rather than later, that a lot of people might be going out and checking out these books right now. Okay. So Katie, this is a good question, because we talked about being involved in the festival, but we want to make it clear. It says, I want to register my 2 kids. How do I register? So do people need to register, or how can they become involved?
Good question. At this point, you become involved by starting to learn the stories. So, pick the book, and then I would follow along in those story school videos and start, learning your story, working with your kids, have them tell the story. And then as we get into July, then we're going to have a registration for the video. So once they are telling the story for video, then you're going to submit the video to Hillsborough County Public Libraries. So we're going to have a submission form for that. And that's a little bit like a registration form at that point.
Okay, so I think we will, oh,
Yes,
Lori, we have Lorian is back with us.
I'm sorry, I'm zooming in here at the same time, but I also wanted to say that they can email us at tampastoryfest@gmail.com, and we have a mailing list where we are sending people information about what's happening when and how they can keep up, and we can also answer direct questions as well. So I just wanted to make sure that they had that point of contact too. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's more information is always better. And the good thing is it is all found on that. You can find it all collected on, I know I keep repeating it, but you can find it all collected on that landing page. So really it is your one-stop shop for finding all those resources, because we know we are giving you a lot of information, but we want to make sure it is very easy to find. So we're going to wrap up here. I'm going to ask one more question and then we will kind of wrap it up. So the last question is there a way, and I think this is a good question, is there a way to get feedback about the video you submit from professionals? And that kind of is what the Storytelling Festival is. It's getting feedback from professional storytellers about your storytelling. So Katie, can you speak more to that process?
Yes, we do have some information about how to make the video, and that's available right now from that landing page. There's like a flyer with some information about how to make the video of your child's storytelling. And we are going to, like I said, there's a session in July that you could tune into that one and ask about the video. And also probably email us at that email address, storytelling, this address that Lorian put up there, to ask us a question about the video.
Okay, well, I think because we have that Zoom session coming up, we're running out of time here. I'm going to go ahead and reiterate. Oh, and I do want to reiterate one fact. You don't have to participate in every event to be part of the festival. You can submit a video. You can be working independently. You can take advantage of these live interactions, these Zoom sessions. So participation, it is at your choice and your time. We do encourage people to take advantage because you've got all these good in-person people resources through the Storytelling Festival Committee. But if you can't attend the sessions, they are recorded, and you will find all that information as well collected. So I will wrap us up with saying, if you do have any questions about using the library, maybe finding those storytelling books and the 398.2s and the Dewey Decimal System, getting a library card, using your library card, you can always give us a call at 813-273-3652, or you can contact us online at hcplc.org/contact. In addition to the Storytelling Festival, we have a lot of cool events going on this summer, including our reading contest through Beanstack, including other live virtual programs and events. So you can find more information about that at hcplc.org/summer. And I would be remiss if I didn't reiterate and repeat one more time the Storytelling Festival website, which is hcplc.org/storytellingfestival. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you at a session very soon.
All right, thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.